If you're an engineer and you're thinking about getting your MBA, you're likely thinking about what is my ROI on going through an MBA program? That is, for all the time and money that I'm going to invest, what are all the returns that I'm gonna get over the lifetime? This is Ivan Lessa with MBAthink.com, a channel where I talk about all things MBA. And in this video, what I'm gonna talk about is basically all the intangibles of getting an MBA. And the reason I want to focus on that is because if you look online, everybody's talking about the quantified benefits. So how much are you going to pay, and then what is the salary increase that you're going to get, and then they extrapolate it over the next 10 years to give you the ROI. What I think they're missing is really all the intangibles, all of the things that not only you have to invest, but all of those returns that are really the upside or the intangibles that are hard to quantify. And so with that, let's go ahead and dive right in. Hey, by the way, I actually wrote an article on MBAthink.com that goes in depth about everything that we'll be talking about and has all of the research that I've done. So I'll leave a link to that article in the description below, so you can take a look at that afterwards. Okay. So let's step back and think about what is the ROI equation. And it's really simple. It's your benefits that you will get out of something, and then you divide that by the investment that you have to make in order for you to get those benefits, right? So really simple formulas, and because of that, what we're gonna talk about is those two things. So first we'll focus on the investment, and then we'll focus on the returns. When you think about the investment, the first investment that you'll have to make is really before you even get to your MBA program. And while the money investment is probably not that significant, you'll have to think about how to prep for GMAT, taking GMAT, and all of the costs that are associated with that. But I think the most important expense or investment that you'll incur before an MBA is your time. It probably takes about 6 months to not only prep for GMAT, but also understand how to apply, go through the application process, focus on essays, and travel to different schools so that you can network with the existing students and also the admissions office and attend any events that they throw. So if you look at the investment before an MBA, the quantified investment is really not that significant. So we're not even going to include that into the whole ROI equation. But what I do want to point out is getting a high score on your GMAT and going through the application process does take a significant amount of time. So the time here is really the intangible investment that you'll have to make. So think about it this way. Do you have 2 to 3 hours a day for the next 3-4 months to study for GMAT? And I'm talking about every single day, because if you want to get into a top school, you'll have to get a GMAT score of 700 plus, which is not that easy. Moving on to the actual cost of getting an MBA. And if you look at the latest research, basically people say that a 2-year full-time program is going to be roughly around $200,000. And if you think about $200,000, it's a lot. And what I would also point out is, while $200,000 does include, on average, tuition expenses, room and board, and other things, I would say that depending on your location, you might have to incur more expenses because the cost of living might actually increase that $200,000 investment that you'll have to make into an MBA. Now, I would say that a lot of people go to a part-time MBA program and they stretch it out, and that way it's more manageable. Because the other thing that you have to think about is the 2 years that while you're going to school, when you're not going to work, and hence you're not going to make money outside of the internships and other part-time jobs that you might be able to take while attending the program. And now I'm going to go into the intangible cost of attending an MBA school. And that is, again, your time. And when you think about the time investment that you'll have to make for 2 years, it's not small. In addition to attending classes, doing homework, you also have to participate in group projects. So you have to coordinate with other people and meet them at a convenient time. You also have to attend the networking events. So all of that combined means that for 2 years, you basically have to spend majority of your time on an MBA school. All right, not to discourage you with all of the investment and costs that you'll have to make while you're thinking about an MBA program, let's talk about the benefits. And again, this is where I highly disagree with a lot of people because they talk about the quantified benefits. And while we will cover those, I do want to spend some time on the intangibles. And I'll talk about some of my experiences, but the intangible benefits that you will get are really important. And I would say that they do outweigh those quantified benefits by a ton. So when you look at my analysis that I did on MBAthink.com, you'll see that I made a few assumptions. First, I assumed that the salary that, for this particular example, the salary before an MBA is $100,000. The second assumption I made is that after an MBA, your salary will go to $150,000. And by the way, I have a video on the average MBA salaries. I'll leave a link to that in the description below, so feel free to check that out afterwards. And also, if you're liking this video, if you're liking this content, hit the like button. That way I'll know whether the content actually resonates. Okay, so as I said, the second assumption is that you would likely make somewhere around $150,000 after an MBA program. The third assumption that I made is that without an MBA, you typically get a salary increase, average salary increase every year of 5%. Again, everybody is different, everybody's situation is different, geographical location, and other things. So you could change the math if you are following what I'm doing here. So don't comment and say 5% is too high or too low. I'm just making a hypothetical here. Okay, so that's the third assumption. And then the fourth assumption is that to account for that MBA premium, I'm assuming that you will have an average salary increase every year of 8%. So 5% before an MBA, or without an MBA, I should say, and then 8% with an MBA. Now with that, let's talk about the intangibles. The first one is the ability to do networking with people that are going through the program. And I think this is huge because not only will you make acquaintances and friends that you can hang out with, but down the road in your career, you can always reach out to those people for help, for getting a referral, for any potential partnerships that you want to have in a business. So that networking, it's really hard to put a dollar amount on the value of it. And when you think about networking, because somebody would say, well, you can go network at different conferences and other events, but if you think about the concentration of talent at an MBA school, a concentration of people that are highly motivated and people that are smart that you can learn from, I don't think that there is really an alternative, right? I think that if you are in a top MBA program, networking is going to be one of those huge benefits that you will get from the program. The second intangible is that credibility. While people know that getting into an MBA program is not easy, they also know that going through an MBA program is also not easy. So by demonstrating that you're able to do both, it's a huge credibility. You also can't put a dollar amount on. So I would say that the credibility is something that I personally have noticed people get whenever they have MBA on their resume. And then the third thing is actually demonstrated by this saying. The MBA is not what you're going to get. It's who you are going to become. Because if you think about it, the best investment is an investment in yourself. And I would say that with the difficulty of going through the program, you will grow as a person. And I think that it's one of those things that is also hard to quantify, but trust me, whenever you're faced with a challenge or a problem you have to solve at work, you will just immediately flex those muscles that you would develop at an MBA school and approach that problem in a similar fashion and be able to actually solve it much faster and in a much thoughtful way. So I would say that your personal growth is another huge intangible that's typically not included in those quantified benefits. So by now, I hope it's evident that getting an MBA is not just all about the quantified ROI. There's tons of upside. There's tons of those intangible benefits that will help your career and help you as a person. And I would say that it's definitely worth it. I haven't met anybody who said that I went through an MBA program and it was a complete waste of time. I personally have zero regrets. I went to the University of Chicago Booth School of Business, absolutely zero regrets because of all of the things that we talked about. But I hope you liked the video, and if you have any questions, feel free to comment. If you like the video, hit the like button, and I'll see you next time.